I understand Russia's playing Austria tonight. I can't do it. I can't watch any more of these one-sided games, reminding me why the round robin can be frustrating. You'll notice there's no notes between the last four goals. There's only one note between the the sixth and seventh goal. The last five goals just all kind of, well, once this game got out of hand, it got out of hand quickly. And much like the Czech game earlier today, it's close until it's not. The difference was the Swiss never looked like they were a threat in this game. And I know Switzerland historically is, given Canada fits and starts here and there. This team is stacked. This is an absolutely stacked Canadian team. It doesn't mean that in the medal round they won't have a stumble. It doesn't mean they won't end up winning bronze. It doesn't mean they won't end up fourth. It means this team is stacked right now. And a country like Switzerland, all they can hope to do is kind of contain it. So Holloway was back. Early chances for Canada. And the shots were 3-0 a minute and 10 seconds in. And I was like, okay, so this is where we're headed. Tomasino then scores from Byfield and Quinn at a minute and 30 seconds. Quinn and Byfield. One thing the announcer said during this game that I agree with, Byfield has very likely been listening to the Stutzlo comments. And just the overall commenting on his game perhaps as well. He came out on a mission today and had the best game I've seen him play. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Best game I've seen him play. And I think this is why I was kind of confused at him not having a lot of ice time, because he's supposed to be excellent, and today he showed he was. The shots were 5-0, 3.5 minutes in. The Swiss were just pinned in their own end. Most of the game they're pinned in their own end. It changed a little bit in the third, I guess, shots-wise, but yeah, no. Swiss take a penalty, power play for Canada, which then becomes a 4-on-4, and then the Swiss took another penalty. It's a parade. It turns into a 5-on-3 for a minute and 12 seconds. Here's the thing. Canada got a lot of pressure. There were some near misses in there. But between some good goaltending and some solid defending, the Swiss killed off that 5-on-3. And it felt like, if the Swiss could get some chances out of this, they could really maybe switch that momentum around. Newhook was denied on a fast break. I thought Newhook had a good game. Then he was guilty of a high stick, so the Swiss get a power play, which had 0 shots. The Swiss had, I think it was 6 power plays in this game. I think that was the total altogether. And they didn't score on any of them, obviously, according to the score at the top of this board. The shots heavily favored Canada, but the Swiss seemed to be getting better as we got into the second half of that period. That they were getting chances. They weren't necessarily getting through. They only recorded 3 shots in that first period, but they seemed to be getting a little better. Levi was staying sharp despite very few shots. The Swiss were pushing with a minute and 30 seconds left. Last minute, there's a penalty to Canada that they were lucky didn't end up having 10 minutes added on. Hits from behind end up becoming 2 + 10. I'm surprised the NHL doesn't have something like that. We've talked about head hits and okay, if you don't want it to be game misconduct, those aren't game misconduct. Why not have a 2 and 10? Then the power play's only 2 minutes, but the guys kept off the ice for 12. So it's one of those things I see at these tournaments, and I think maybe the NHL should look into that. And again, it would be referee's discretion as to when that 10-minute misconduct gets thrown in there. But since they were thrown around like candy in the return, in the bubbles, maybe they should be used to better than just, hey, you're being mean. Go sit for 10 minutes. That's basically what happened in the playoffs this year. It was bewildering. Second period, early Swiss penalty. Canada gets the power play, and they made them pay. You can't keep giving this Canadian team that, again, is stacked power plays. Cousins gets the power play marker from Perfetti and McMichael at 1 minute and 40 seconds. And Canada complete control of the game at this stage. And I put now and then still. Because while Switzerland got better in the second half of that first period, they weren't really the better team. They were just playing better than they had the first half. Canada then makes it 3-0. Peltier scores from Zari and Byfield at 8 minutes and 2 seconds, and the Swiss were just getting overwhelmed. Again, there is no one line of Canada that you can shut down and say, okay, we shut that line down, we're good. There's like 3 scoring lines on this team. Potentially 4 scoring lines on this team. You lose Kirby Dach, that hurts. He's your leader, he's your captain, but it's a stacked team. The shots were 21-5 halfway through the game. Canada would actually take more shots in the second half than the first half of the game. Canada gets another power play. They were 1 for 4 thus far through the game at that stage. And then it's Suzuki scoring the power play marker from Byfield and Newhook. And this is where Byfield's becoming a major storyline. 1, 2, 3 assists. and that's at 13:44 of the second period. Zari then nearly makes it 5-0, but it would become 5-0 when McMichael scores from Cousins at 17:53. So we go to the third period, it's 5-0, and this game's over. This game was kind of over at 3-0. The Swiss weren't going to generate 3 goals. The Swiss started the period on the power play. Fiedler then takes a penalty that gives Canada their 6th power play. They were 2 for 5. Byfield, best game so far. And I'm writing this on the board, and as I'm writing it, as he's going into beast mode, he gets the power play marker from Drysdale and Quinn at 5:16. Beautiful tip in front of the net by Byfield. Again, best game he's played in this tournament. The Swiss then got a power play. That was their 5th to that point. They don't score, and soon after that's over, Byfield gets his 2nd goal in a row from Quinn and Pelche. Jack Quinn had a very good game as well. That's at 8:07. And then a minute and 2 seconds later, it's Perfetti from Krebs and Newhook at 9:09. Then it becomes 9-0. Gooley scores from Korzak and Krebs. And at 15:35, Pelche scores from Byfield. That's 6 points for Quentin Byfield. And of course, with the player of the game situation being as it's been through this tournament, I thought, now are they going to give player of the game to McMichael or Cousins or Levi? Because player of the game's been kind of unpredictable. And, at this stage, one thing that I noticed, Switzerland never went to their backup, never gave any seeming consideration to the backup. For Switzerland now, it's all on the line against Germany. If they come out and play, now remember, Germany lost Canada 16-2 with a severely undermanned team, and their 3rd-string goalie was in by the end of that game. If Germany can pounce on Switzerland, and they should be a team that's maybe a little bit low in terms of their overall feelings regarding this tournament, Germany can end up in the quarterfinals. They can do that, which would be a victory for the Germans. Considering the way they started this tournament, considering the COVID-ravaged team, and just the fact that some of their best players aren't there, that'd be a victory for them. For the Swiss, there's not really a lot you can take out of this. You look at the shots, 13-3 Canada in the first, 24-4 Canada in the second, and 15-8 Canada in the third. Final shots, 52-15. So they took a shot away from Canada, because towards the end of the game, I noticed there was 53 shots for Canada. Your players of the game for Canada, Byfield, and for Switzerland, it was Knack, who didn't get a goal. I would have gone to Pat Naud, who was their goaltender, 42 saves on 52 shots for an 800 save percentage. Just the fact that he was still trying after that 8th or 9th goal. You know what? Hats off to the guy for not storming off. I have to say that some of these goalies that are under siege in these tournaments, I have nothing but the utmost respect for them. That has to be hard. It has to be hard to be a goaltender behind that team. I've coached like little kids games. And you saw them on the channel where I would coach like the little kids games just for homeschool. We're not in homeschool hockey this year due to all the shutdowns and everything else going on. But I would watch goalies for teams and this is a game that means nothing, and see the little kids get frustrated when the score's like this, and then we'd end up switching the goalies between the two teams. And even Yvonne suggested during the German-Canada game, said maybe the German goalie should go to the Canadian side of the ice. The Canadian goalie should go the other way, like we do with the homeschool hockey. Yeah. So I honestly, this is one of those things that it's kind of an inspiring thing to watch a goaltender go through that and still be okay after. Levi, of course, gets his first shutout, 15 saves. And now they're looking at Levi as probably playing every game in the tournament. You can't see them now against Finland going to a different goaltender. It's Levi's net. And somewhere, Florida's watching this tournament and going, we may have got a steal in the 7th round in Devin Levi. Those 6-foot-tall goaltenders, do not underestimate them. Just because they're shorter than the 6'5" goaltender doesn't mean that they're not capable. So yeah. Levi, good game. Canada, of course, just slaughtered them. And now we'll get the real challenge for Canada in the last game against Finland. So, I know Russia's playing Austria tonight. I'm not watching that one. I can't do that. I can't. I've watched two lopsided games today. I can't watch a third. There's a limit, and I apparently have reached it. But kudos to the Canadians for a really strong game from start to finish. This is one that Hockey Canada should be happy with. And when we talk about these games where they're really lopsided, it's interesting because watching Tim and Sid yesterday, and they were talking about how the sponsors and Hockey Canada themselves may really enjoy these lopsided victories and all the highlights they can use from that, and just the fact that, you know, it's going to get eyeballs on their products that they want to have put out there. So that might be part of the reason why Canada doesn't let up. But again, we'll get into that at some point when we look at these tournaments and, you know, ask ourselves the question. Like, one of the reasons that the World Cup of Soccer is so good is because the games are generally really close. And when you look at who might win the tournament, you can make an argument for at least 10 countries most years. It might end up being two favorites. You might see Brazil and Germany in the end, but it's close in some of those games along the way. And you might just see a huge upset along the way. It doesn't seem to be that way with hockey tournaments in general. And I know hockey eventually would love to have something like a World Cup. That's why the World Cup of Hockey, they tried having, and even 4 years ago I said it's not really a World Cup. Not really, because it's the same 6 countries that have a shot every time. But yeah, we'll see how the Swiss do against the Germans. I will very likely watch and review that game when that takes place. So stay tuned for that. I will be watching at least a game tomorrow. We'll see which ones I end up watching and reviewing. But hey, thank you guys so much for all your support and for watching these reviews. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.